Hi, welcome back to Tales from the Road with me, Dave Dufour, and Dr. Jill Windy. We've been talking about what happens when your animal gets sick on the road or gets hurt on the road, and while you're traveling. I don't mean on the road. I mean when you're traveling. Okay, that's what I mean. When you're traveling.
When you're traveling.
So to help us demonstrate some of the things that are going to be important in a first aid kit, we have our friendly, furry, frolicking first aid friend, Gunner, to help us show off all the important things. And Gunner wants to give me a kiss.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. All right, what do we got here?
All right. Well, now this is not an all-inclusive list here, but some of the highlights of first aid things that you'll need. First of all, we've got our little gauze squares here and tape. Okay, and these would be important if you have to cover a wound or something like that. Now you may also see in some supply stores this stuff called vet wrap, which is very good, except that it's also very stretchy. And so it's very easy to put this on and have it kind of tighten down and become too tight. And actually one of my very first extern surgeries was an amputation that we had to do on a bandage that was wrapped too tightly. So be careful with those.
What is this stuff called again?
It's called vet wrap.
Zet wrap.
Vet wrap.
Vet wrap, okay.
Yeah, vet wrap.
Okay.
So, and it's great stuff. You just have to know how to use it.
Okay.
So that you can use it safely. And of course, we need to have the magic purple hands, the gloves. There are things that you're going to have to deal with that you really don't want to touch. So make sure you have your gloves in there, and that's also protection for you, because we'll talk in one of our other episodes about all the fun and exciting things that can happen to you that you get from animals. So keep your gloves handy. You're going to need a little bit of hardware, needle nose pliers, or a Leatherman tool, very helpful, because we've got fish hooks and porcupine quills and all kinds of things that we might need to use those for. So make sure you've always got those handy. And we're also going to need some scissors and tweezers. Now, some people will call these tweezers, some will call them thumb forceps.
Okay.
They're also tick picker outers.
Tick picker outers.
Tick picker outers,
I like
yes.
that.
This
That's
is
a
how you
great
get rid of ticks. So you want to make sure and have those ready.
How many ticks does a tick picker outer pick, if a tick picker outer could pick ticks?
Well, it can pick ticks, and it picks them one at a time, and you just have to keep picking until they're done.
I don't want to be a tick picker, frankly, but sometimes you have to do it.
That's right. It's a good job in college to have.
All right.
Some other things that you're going to need to have, certainly things like peroxide, alcohol swabs. Do not put those, though, in open wounds. You also want to have either some saline solution or eye irrigation solution. This is important not only for eyes, but this makes a really good flush solution for those open wounds. Okay. The general rule for an open wound is if you can put it in your eye, then you can put it in a wound. Okay. So if you don't want to pour alcohol in your eye, don't pour it in a wound. Okay. So good rule of thumb. So we've got those there. A couple of other things. There are some medications that you want to keep on hand. Now, the disclaimer we have to make about medications, though, is that dogs are not little people.
Right.
Cats are not little dogs. Everybody uses those medications a little differently. So some things that we use in humans, we cannot at all use in dogs and cats. And some things that we use in dog and cats are very, very different doses than we would use in a person.
Yeah.
So you cannot just kind of extrapolate down, oh, I weigh this much and he weighs that much, and so it must be this.
They are not people in furry suits.
That's right.
They just aren't. Okay.
That's right. So make sure that you have an appropriate list from your veterinarian about what medications or what doses might be useful. Try not to give dosing information out over broad spectrum world. Now, a couple of things that are safe for most pets are going to be things like hydrocortisone cream, triple antibiotic ointment.
Right, okay.
Those are pretty straightforward. Don't put things right in the wound, though. Again, if you've got something that's like gaping open, don't pour stuff down in there, like antibiotic stuff. Okay. Now, one of the things that you want is to keep a supply of veterinary, of animal-friendly drugs in your kit. So, an anti-inflammatory like Rimadyl or Duramex or Metacam, whichever one you and your veterinarian normally use, is going to be important. You can use aspirin in a pinch, but it loves to make ulcers in tummies and intestines. So we prefer just keeping stuff that was made for the animals on hand to do that. That's pretty easy. Another good thing would be something like, yeah, you heard me. It'd be the Tissue Mend, which is a surgical type glue. You can use super glue, but the Tissue Mend's better because it's
more flexible?
absorbable.
Oh, okay.
It's absorbable, so so that's a lot easier. Things like Benadryl, Pepcid, those types of things. Again, you need to talk to your veterinarian about those because we don't want to use in just any drug in any patient.
I think Gunner's getting nervous. He's thinking,
He
"Are
is.
we
He's
really
seeing
gonna,
all
are we
this
gonna
stuff.
pick ticks off me when I don't have ticks or anything else like that?" Okay.
That's right. So we'll show you some of the, now those things are going to be things that are going to be really in pretty much any human first aid kit as well. So some of the more pet specific things that you might need, you're going to need to have a muzzle, okay, and it goes on just like that, okay.
Now, why would you need that in the case of from a first aid standpoint?
Well, you need this because even though Gunner has the best bite inhibition in the world, whenever a pet is in pain or hurt or shocky and
Right.
disoriented, they can bite. And even though they have never even had it cross their mind in your time together, that can happen when they're painful.
In their pain, the instinct takes over, basically. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So you want to make sure you have that. Now, if you don't have a muzzle with you at the time, you can get a little MacGyverish. You can use a shoestring even, and basically all you do is you tie it around the muzzle like this, and then tie it up behind the ears. And that makes a perfectly good muzzle. You do want to have a slip leash with you in your first aid kit, again, so that you can keep everybody restrained and happy. And you'll want to have a blanket with you in your kit. And this isn't just to keep them warm, although Gunner's going to try to burrow into it right now. But this actually makes an excellent stretcher.
Oh, okay.
So that way you're not trying to hold them and juggle and jostle things that might be broken or something. Makes an excellent
Keeps
sling.
their weight more well distributed, in other words,
Right.
when they're being carried.
Yeah,
Perfect.
makes an excellent stretcher there. Now you can also grab an old towel, and we'll pretend this is our old towel. Very good, Gunner. Way to go, right up on cue there. And what you can do is grab an old towel, stand up your little dude right on here, draw 4 circles around the feet, and then cut those out. Okay. Then what you can do is slide that up and over the top to make a body covering. So if he's got something that you don't want him to chew on, so a sore or something you don't want him to chew on, and then you just put clips or safety pins right up across the top. And then you've got your own little body bandage there.
Cool.
So
Okay, so now what have we covered everything here on the table here?
covered everything on the table, but certainly not everything that you might need in a kit.
Okay, all right. So, but since this is a first aid kit, the
Right.
key word being first aid, we know that when something happens, the next step is probably to, well, almost assuredly to find a veterinarian. And when you're on the
Right.
road, that may or may not be that may not be easy. So, what do you suggest in that regard?
Well, absolutely. First aid means not only aid. So you need to get that going. So before you head out on your trip, you want to make sure that you talk to your veterinarian to see if they know any colleagues in the area that you're headed to, because a lot of us have colleagues all over the country that we know and trust and love. If that is not the case, then stay tuned to our next segment, because we are going to talk about how to find a veterinarian no matter where you are.
Okay, well, before we head off to the next segment, just want to remind you that you can contact the show by calling 877-578-RVNN and using extension 705 for Dr. Wendy if you have questions or suggestions for upcoming shows, and also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be right back with more about how to find a veterinarian on the road and how to deal with those emergency situations that may arise when you've got your 4-legged, furry, fun, frolicsome friends with you.
For more TV like this from the world of RVs, head to rvnn.tv.